Hey, what's up, everybody? Mogian Monster here, and welcome to Why the Fascination, or WTF as we lovingly call it. I hope everybody's doing good. Man, my voice sounds like shit. It's gonna be fun. Good to see everybody in chat. Hope you're all doing well. Brian Chewy, what's up? MPW, how's it going? Mr. Lee, Western New York Bigfoot Investigation Group. What's up, Joe? Uncle Bones, what's happening, man? Sharon, how are you? Who else? I feel beat up, guys. Just been busy. Jay Fritz, how's it going? Hi, Ida. Nice to see you. Anita, welcome, welcome. Oops. My backdrop's running away. I'm going to lock this thing in somehow. Who else we got? Cindy Finn. She says, I didn't go to kindergarten. I did. I went to kindergarten. Actually, I remember it too. Not all of it, of course, but good parts of it. I think we got everybody until I get to the bottom and start over. Angel Nolan, what's up? See what I mean? It's never ending. It's just a pattern. So I was talking to my buddy Richie. Hopefully he can get out here in July. He got permission from the girlfriend, and he just has to make sure that his doctor will okay it. 7,500 feet. I don't know how he's going to do up there. I mean, it shouldn't be bad, but you never know. Ellen Solistic Haven. How are you? Haven. Shit, now I'm all confused. Hey, Pammy. What's going on? I don't see anybody else. Yeah, you guys know how this works. I will post the link in chat, and if you want to come on, just click on the link, Mr. Lee, fuzzy. And follow the directions. It's pretty easy. If you don't want to be on camera, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see stop camera. Just click on that, and you don't have to be on camera. All I ask is that if you do come on, is when you're on StreamYard, just make sure that Facebook, yeah, YouTube is closed, so we can avoid all that nonsense echo. Who else? Suzanne, what's up, girl? Welcome. BF Bud, what's going on, man? Mogates, huh? Mogates. Sounds funny. It's cool, but I couldn't think of anything funny to say about it. Hey, Arizona Squatch. What's up, Kevin? How you doing? So yeah, it looks like it's a go, Kev, for July 23rd. We're gonna head up and see who shows up. You know, when the time is right and everybody wants directions, they can, or where to go or whatever, and I'll just give them the name and coordinates and wish them luck. It worries me, I'm not trying to throw an event. I'm just trying to go camping with a bunch of people. I don't need the parks up my ass. I guess it helps. Hey, Lockbeard, what's going on, man? I guess it helps if I put the link in chat. There you go. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm just sore. I've been doing some things around the house and trying to clean up, get my shit organized and clean up because someone's coming to the house tomorrow for something. So deal with that. But yeah, it's weird having to cut my day short to do a show. It used to be 2 hours is a big difference. I mean, 2 hours from now, I'd be like ready to do a show. I'm ready to vacuum out a truck or something right now. I mean, it's still light out. Papa Craig, what's up, buddy? So Papa said he's might be popping down to Arizona. Him and Nana. What did I do? Huh. That was interesting. All right. I'm having difficulties right now. Oh, there we go. Brandy, how are you? I got to watch what I'm hitting. I like kick myself right off the thing. I minimize myself. I was like, what happened? Jamie, how are you? That says it all. One eye on the hockey game, one eye on mugs. One hand on a spice rum and coke, other hand on my hooter. Now, it's the hooter part that's got me confused. Because I'd say if you're from Kentucky, certain parts, hooter is a joint. So that's my guess. But could be in other states too. Because I knew this guy. I was down in Virginia Beach, and I met this guy from Pikeville, Kentucky, or Pikeville, and I was like 18, but he went by Hooter Man because he saw weed. Bat Mom, how are you? Wow, I sound terrible. Ugh. Stop those vapes, man. They're kicking my ass. Well, hey, Kevin.
What's going on, Russ?
Not too much, man. Not too much. Just dealing with life.
Sweet. Well, I got my calendar right here in front of me. When in July are you going up?
23rd. Well, that's when it starts, but I'm gonna have to go up sooner than that and try to see what I can do about getting camp spots.
Okay.
I don't even know how many.
The 24th is my daughter's birthday, and I don't know if I'm going to be down in the valley for that. I got like 1, 2, 3, 4 birthdays in July. One's my daughter's, and the rest are grandchildren, I think. So,
Wow.
but at the very latest, first off, how long are you planning on staying up there?
I would say a minimum of 4 nights, 5 days,
Okay,
something like that.
I'll drop in on you.
I
For
think
sure.
that would make a good, an okay trip. It's better than driving somewhere for a weekend. If you're going to make the effort to get there, you might as well enjoy a little bit of time there. So I'm in no hurry. So yeah, there's no real end on it. When it fizzles out, it fizzles out.
I'm not ignoring you. I'm saving this in my
No,
phone.
no, that's cool.
If it's not in here, it doesn't exist. So,
Miss Dill, what's up? Hey, Michael.
cool. So I don't know if you saw one of my recent videos. I was up at a different location, which is, as the crow flies, like 1.5 miles from Hilltop where I normally go. But on Friday the 6th, I asked my buddy if he wanted to walk down to this other campsite that I've researched at, that I call Coyote Camp, which is like a 1/2 mile. He's like, "No, I'm going to stay here." And this was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And where we were at is kind of like a room. I mean, it's really closed in with the trees. It's known in Arizona as Broken Mirror, which, interesting story that goes with how it got its name. But anyways, I was walking through the trees out to the 2-track road, or to the main dirt road. It's still a 2-track, but just about as time I got to the road, I looked up and I saw movement go from my right to left. Full daytime sighting. When we did the recreation, he was right about Chuck's height, and Chuck is 6'1", 6'2", something like that. So 6-footer, but it had about twice the mass of what Chuck did. But I saw the full 3 steps, the full classic arm movement, and so I kept tracking through the trees. There's an opening in the trees, and I saw him again, and then another opening in the trees, 3rd time. All in all, from the beginning to the end of this was maybe 5 seconds. But yeah.
Yeah, to see in the second time, that's where you got the other 2 seconds. Because normally it's 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. It was
So you
quick.
hear. Oh man, that's interesting.
Yeah, so that makes I'm still teetering.
9.
It could possibly be 10. Well, the trip before this one,
I'm not keeping track.
well, the trip before this one, the sun had dropped below the trees, hadn't completely set yet. So it was very easy to see. And this one was 55 yards away. We shot the distance with the rangefinder when we did the recreation. And the one I saw this last Friday was 57 yards. But now we're over there at Hilltop, and I caught movement out of the corner of my eye, and I kind of looked over in that spot, and sure as shit, there was one standing there, and then it turned to its right and took about 3 steps and was completely gone. It zapped the living shit out of me before he left.
Why do you think they're being so visible? Just
With
because?
me,
Yeah.
trust,
Well, yeah. Okay.
trust.
Now, is it you're going to these different campgrounds like Coyote? What was it? Coyote what?
Well, Coyote Camp,
Okay.
Broken Mirror, Hilltop.
How
They're
same area?
yeah, they're same
Same
area.
group.
No. The family group that lives right there around where Coyote Camp Broken Mirror is. They're a different family group than the one over at Hilltop. Their mannerisms are just a little bit different. They still do the same things, but like with leaving gifts, they're over at Hilltop. They absolutely love blueberry pie and powdered donuts. Over at the Coyote Camp area, they don't so much care for blueberry pie. And just little differences like that. Is why I suspect it's two different family groups.
Huh. It's little things, but yeah, you never know. I mean, sorry.
And the way they behave at night, especially after I go to bed, because they always come into camp every night. I've got it on audio. You get these click sounds that more like the rock clack sound. And this is why we believe they're making that sound, going or something like that. Because I get them in different tones, different pitches, and and they'll be standing right next to the audio recorder, and it'll do a click, and sometimes you get mumble and like what you've heard, the actual spoken language that I've got recorded.
When we were in Florida, it sounded like clicks, but it sounded like an insect. So I wasn't sure. I'm like, and if it was an insect, it was kind of loud, but it was just consistent. It was just, but it sounded like hitting rocks together, but it had just a weird ring to it. That's what made me think it was an insect.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's what we call a confirmed possibility of a definite maybe.
Maybe.
It's
could be.
Without having the audio files of it, it's real difficult to determine whether it's them or insects or something else making the noises. But the other interesting thing that was super cool on this last trip, it was Wayne and myself, and this little 2-track road. We'd walked down it as far as we could, trees falling, and it hasn't been used in forever. It's an old skid road, and we got back in there probably close to a third of a mile. And mind you, this was on Tuesday, and Tuesday it was windy as hell up there.
Oh, it's been it's been windy here for how long?
Too long.
Consistently for like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
if not longer.
But in between the wind blowing, I heard a whistle, so I whistled back, and if I whistled a total of 7 times, maybe 8 times, they would have responded back 5 or 6 times. They didn't do it every time, or is that I couldn't hear it because of the wind. But that was one of the best days I've had out as far as getting the return whistles. I've had one here and one there, but to have one sitting there for I don't know however long it takes to
Is that how you're whistling, just like that?
Yeah, and then it would get almost the same thing back, a different tone. And so like I said, they could have done it every time that I did it and just couldn't hear it because of the wind would pick up. But I would say at best they were within 50 yards of me, of us.
That's close. Icon, how's it going? No, there was somebody else I missed. I was going to say hi to, but I was going to wait. Oh, Donald, you said Mogi Monster sent you a DM the other day. DM. I looked in. I think I checked everything. I don't recall if I got anything. I'll have to check again. because I saw you said that the other day on Tuesday, and I thought I looked for it. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up. um,
That's what Daddy Tomato said to the baby tomato. Catch up.
catch up.
Ooh.
Oh man. So yeah, I'm really I'm just getting more and more excited about doing this. You know, it should be a good experience. You know, and it's more of a camp out. If people want to go out and you know do their thing, whatever. You know, um,
Well, just a heads up. Especially anybody who's coming from in-state or out of state to come on this trip. End of July is in the monsoon season and could get some potentially horrendous thunderstorms up there.
yeah.
So just prepare for that.
And on the
If you,
plus side, if it does rain, we can have a fire.
yeah, right. Yeah, it was amazing. One of the things I do when I'm up there is I have my two-way radio and I monitor the Forest Service. And some yondlehead had started a fire up there and didn't get it extinguished and started to catch a log. Forest Service found it in time because there's a lookout tower like, geez, as crow flies 2 miles away from where this was at. But yeah, it's just like, I wish people would use their heads. But anyway, an extra tarp and maybe some extra twine or something to put over a tent just for added protection against the rain, possibly heavy hail, strong winds. The thunderstorms up there are definitely no
There's going to be
joke.
20 of us huddled in a pop-up. Wish the storm would pass. Shut up, pass the joint.
Right. Oh man. Yeah, exactly. Well, went up there towards the end of August, for my 50th birthday party a few years ago when we did that. And I went up like 5 days before everybody else was supposed to show up, except my best friend. He went up with me, and it rained, thunderstormed, rained. We must have had, and not exaggerating, 15 inches of rain in 3 days. It just did not let up.
That's like biblical
Oh,
rains.
it was wild. I mean, it started raining when I got to Payson before I even got up on top of the rim, and I was thinking to myself, well, this will blow through fairly quick. I'm not worried about it. So set up camp in the rain, and damn near needed a boat to get back there at that time. It was before I had my Tundra, but or I had it, but Mama was driving it up. I was an old red. But anyway, it just rained and it rained and it rained and once everybody got up there, we had, I think it was 8 or 9 canopies set up with fire underneath one of them. Then once the rains quit, oh man, my grandkids, man, we had a couple go-karts up there and they're slinging mud everywhere. And mamas were like, you guys are getting muddy. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But
and we're doing it right. Damn it.
Yeah. It was a good trip. But, so there is potential for, end of July because we're just getting into the good part of the monsoon season. And, so just, everybody keep that in mind.
Yeah. Nikki had sent me a copy of this Forest Service page about fires during the ban, and I was like, well, hopefully it'll rain.
Yeah. Before they lift any fire restrictions, they have to have at least 3 inches of rain up there, minimum. Yeah, which is nothing for on top of the rim. But usually about 3 inches of rain, then they'll lift the fire bans. Fires are no joke.
No. And especially here. I mean, I don't know where, like the rest of the country, guys, I don't know where you are, but I mean, I do know where a lot of you are, but we get red flag warnings all the time. And that means it's dry, low humidity, and it's going to be windy as fuck. And no fires. Because if a fire gets going out here with that wind, woohoo. This place is a tinderbox.
Yep.
You look at our weather forecast and it says chance of precipitation 0 all the way across the board. Mogs Fritchie goes, is he getting a hold of Stevie and myself? I believe so. He's gonna try to, make sure he can go. Yeah, I don't see why the three of you shouldn't drive out,
It'll be a good time. Bugs. Yeah, that's
Icon says, pretty sure the AZ state flag is red. No, it's red,
no.
yellow, blue. Probably some white thrown in there. Huh. Oh, that flag. Never mind. Joe says we have a fire ban every year till mid-May. Oops. What the? Try again. March 1st. Yeah, normally like winters we get a decent amount of rain. This year we didn't get as much as normal, that's for sure.
No, we had, I think, all in all, about 20 inches of snow here in Strawberry. Up on top of the rim, especially, like Null Lake area and east. They got the brunt of the storms, so they got more snow, but not near enough. We need the snowpack. It's not so much the rains that we need; it's the snowpack. And
for the thaw,
yeah, and we're just not getting the snows. Or this year we didn't. Last year, my neighbor showed me a picture of the snow, and it was 3 feet deep.
Huh. Yeah, things are just drying up out here. The reservoirs, Lake Powell, Colorado River. It's just drying up.
My well is full, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, well water's, I like well water. Because the shit around here sucks. I lived about 15 miles from here a bunch of years back, and that house had a well, and it was maybe, I loved it because it was like 100 yards from the river. But the water there was amazing. The well water.
That's what I'm drinking right now. Good stuff. Good, clean, quality.
I did have that water.
Yeah. Good quality H2O.
Ben T, how are you? So yeah, guys, anybody wants to pop on? Links in chat. This is your show, people. I just run it. Pardon me.
Smoke another one.
I believe I will. Mr. Hugh, how's it going? It's probably the second time I've said hi. It's all right. You guys were talking about kindergarten earlier. I remember the kindergarten, the elementary school, the principal's name was Mr. McHugh. MC Hugh. So every time I see that name, I think of that. Having flashbacks to elementary school.
Elementary school was awesome.
It sucked. So did the kids who kicked my ass.
Yeah. Well, I was being facetious. You know,
Man.
you
My
know,
mouth got me in trouble.
you know where Guadalupe is?
Sorry. Huh?
Do you know where Guadalupe is? It's south of Tempe, kind of South Phoenix ish. It's
I'm
just
not.
a it's just a little reservation town. It it's slums. I mean, and that's where I went to school first grade. And my little white ass got beat every single day. And it wasn't just one; it was like 6 of them. And
Yeah, it happens. You
yeah.
know.
Hey, it's
But
taught me
no,
how
and it was funny
taught me how to
as I
take an
got
ass
older, I got
whipping.
braver. But I was never a fighter as an adult. I have never been in a fight as an adult. Adulthood starting at 18 years old. I've broken them up. I've bounced for years. I've broken them up. I've picked up people, carried them away. You know, never squared up against anyone ever.
Well, to my sad affairs, yeah, when I was a teenager, I got violent. Wasn't good. Stupid.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't a fighter. Okay, I'll say it. I was a lover.
Mastered all those skills by the time I was 18.
I was a runner.
Yeah, the Army made sure of
You
that
want to
for
fight me?
me.
You got to catch
Oh,
me.
yeah.
How's it going, Graz? Nice to see you. Hey, Stevie. Stevie
Oh,
B.
wait a minute.
Just around.
Somebody just asked a question.
Did I miss it? Is it in caps?
I don't think it was. Suzanne Lucerno.
Icon
O'Brien.
flunked recess and excelled at lunch. As long as you excelled at something.
I feel like she says, I feel like they present themselves to you often for a particular reason. Do you know? Yeah, when you find it, go ahead and post it so everybody can see it. And yes, I'll answer that. It was posted at 6:32.
Why the hell am I not seeing this? That's weird. Who posted it?
Suzanne
Oh.
O'Brien.
Here you go. Sorry,
There it
Suzanne.
is. Okay, so I feel like they present often for a particular reason. Do you? And if so, what reason? It's a long drawn out story, but I'll try and make the Reader's Digest version here. My first encounter with the Boy Scouts when I was 13 years old. Apparently, some type of connection was made at that point. Because where all this kicked off for me 5 years ago was about 3 miles as a crow flies from that location. The method that I use when I'm out, I'm not a researcher. I look at this as a field of learning, wilderness college, I guess. But I'm out to learn about them from them. And in doing so, using the habituation method, I do the same thing over and over and over again. I used to always wear a red shirt, park my truck in the same place, put my tent in the same place, my chair's always in the same place. my daily routines are almost down to the minute, so I wanted to make myself very predictable to them. So, here's the guy in the red shirt with the red truck, and
It's a habituation.
yeah, the whole habituation thing. And
Hey, Duke.
and what I've learned since then is all that stuff really wasn't necessary. They're much smarter than that. Um, but over time, by not using video cameras and not trying to take their pictures, and trail cameras, trap cameras, night vision goggles, not doing any of that stuff. The only thing I do is put an audio recorder out. They don't seem to mind that, but I'm showing to them that I'm trustworthy. And to this day, I will not use cameras or anything, because I've made a promise to them that I would never try to take their picture or get video, or try and trick them. They know your intentions. They know if you're a good person. They know if you're a bad person. Um, like I said, they're just so much smarter than we are. So over the time, you know, earning their trust, and in like fashion, me trusting them, um, I believe is what's led to, 9, 10 daytime sightings, however you want to look at it. Nighttime sightings, I can't even begin to count how many times. I mean, I've had them come up and touch me. It's you have to have a high level of trust, and to have something like that come up in the middle of the night, pitch blackout, and can't see your hand in front of your face, but yet you get a hand on your shoulder. It's that it takes some getting used to, but it's about trust, and I think that's the whole thing. Is I trust them and they trust me.
Should sum it up, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. Anybody else have questions? Just put them in caps so I can see them. I know when Richie's here, he puts everything in caps. It's because he can't see for shit. Hey, Judy. Yay. She made the live. The hell am I hearing?
Sounds like somebody's stomping on your ceiling.
Yeah, it sounds like. It sounded like, when a dump truck backs up and it
Huh?
beside it, or where the tailgate hits it after it's
Yeah.
dumped. It sort of sounded a little bit like that, but not as loud. It was weird. Yeah, this door is noisy as hell when I open it, so. Who else? So yeah, guys, like I said, link is in chat. Any more questions? Put them in caps. Since Kevin's here, you might as well ask him. Whatever you want to ask him. Yeah, I'm surprised people don't ask more questions.
Yeah, that's all good. Of course, you're going to be fishing when you're there, right?
More than likely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually. Tomorrow I have to go get my fishing license because Saturday we're having a memorial service for my dad at the state park here in town.
Oh, brother, I'm sorry, I didn't hear he passed.
Oh, what? It's been what's today? Thursday. 4 weeks yesterday.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a little odd. Just stressful or whatever, but we're all good. Chase says I'm bringing my pole.
Sweet, sweet.
I'm sure I'll have a spare one, Jay, if you can't or you don't want to. No, 4 weeks yesterday, Stevie. It was on the 13th, but it was on Wednesday. Mike, thank you. What's up, buddy? Haven't seen you in a long time, man. Welcome back. Hey, Sue. G'day.
Okay, there's 2 questions there. Okay, yeah, I speak to them all the time. I speak out loud and sometimes, try to communicate, via mind speak. I don't know if I'm very successful at that. I get mind speak, but yeah, I speak out loud to them all the time. Very rarely do they respond, but when they do, it's pretty damn interesting.
No doubt. Have you caught them on film?
I have a photograph that they're in the background. I was taking a picture of a branch that was rammed in the ground upside down with my cell phone. Was it back in 2018? And I'd noticed something in the background. I zoomed in, and there's 4, possibly 5 of them there. I got the picture. I zoomed in. I got photographs of that printed. Fairly pixelated, but the way they are in with the trees, you can absolutely make out, details, facial features, eyeballs, one of them nostrils. It's yeah, I got a photograph, but I don't try and take video of them. If I'm ever shooting a video, when I'm out doing something, and if they decide to show up in it, that's on them. But I will not attempt to try and get video footage of them or photographs.
Yeah, I always thought that same with Jeff Harding doing his research. I always thought that was smart that he didn't bring any electronic devices with him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's, for evidence sake, people want the pictures. They want, but that's not what he was doing it for. He was looking for evidence as in DNA. So,
Yeah.
But I always thought it was interesting not to, to go in just, without anything,
Yeah. Well, part of my reason to that is, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again with expecting different results. And thousands and thousands and thousands of people are out there doing this, and they're, for the better lack of terms, they're having no success. And this wasn't something, I'm not in this to prove anything to anybody. This is a personal journey for me. And, I just happen to not mind sharing my experiences and things I've learned. But, I'm not the guy to go to see pictures and or video or stuff like that, because I'm just not out there trying to do that.
Anita has a question too.
Yes.
Arizona, what are your thoughts on how they know our intentions? I have my thoughts, but would like yours.
Part of it is, the one thing people really need to understand is there's a very spiritual side to these beings. And so part of it is on a spiritual level, I believe. And the other part of it, one of the things that we have a hypothesis that when you get zapped, they're actually making a neurological connection with you, and do kind of like a download, and so at that point in time, they know everything about you. And so it's real easy to determine what somebody's intentions are when, you've downloaded, from the time they were born to that moment, and they can zip through it that quick. It's the That's the best answer I can give you. Um, do we know for sure? Nobody knows for sure. We all have ideas, and where my ideas come from is the amount of interactions that I have with them, and I just keep learning bits and pieces as time goes on.
Right on. Still think film camera is the way to go with them. What is your opinion? Film as in 35 millimeter, not
Yeah,
digital.
yeah, or Polaroids. Well, if first off, if you're out there and you want to try and get photographs of them, um, no, you have to understand how smart they are. You know that's the first thing. You know they're not dumb apes running around out in the forest. They are very very intelligent people, type of people. Um, they know what cameras are. As far as trail cameras, yes, we believe they can see the IR beams, with that kind of stuff. But if you want to go out and take photographs, um, I've got a buddy who just goes out in the forest and just starts taking all kinds of pictures, and even though he can't see them, with the naked eye, they show up on the cell phone. Yeah, there's a lot of people that do that, and I'm going to come out and say that 95% of what I've seen is pareidolia, um, but at the same time, the 5% that actually have something in their photograph, it's pretty amazing. I'm not saying you can't get pictures of them. I just don't do that. I refuse to run around the forest acting like the paparazzi. It's their house, and I'm showing respect.
Joe
But
from the Western New York Bigfoot Investigation Group has. I didn't mean to cut you off, but he's also got a question. When they mind speak, is it in their language or English? How does that work? Have they told you?
well, the first thing is I believe that that thoughts are developed in however they're developed. In English, yes, I hear them in English. I've heard them speak out loud in English. I've heard them speak out loud in their language. But in the mind speak, uh, it's never been anything that I can't understand. So, is it English or is it just a common language that we all know? I don't know, but when they do communicate, I understand exactly what they're saying. Sometimes they got to tell me 2 or 3 times because they speak so fast. But
Miss Dill, is it your birthday? I'm sorry, I didn't know.
happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Miss Dill. Ben, how's it going? Oh, I feel bad. I didn't know. Normally, I would have an idea about people's birthday. I guess we didn't go on Facebook recently. Actually, I don't think we're friends on Facebook. Faster Man, what's up? Hey, Jen. Who else? Pylon Research. What's going on, Jeff?
What is their language derived from?
Rosemary.
Pine Island asked a question. He didn't put it in caps.
Oh, I was just blowing by to see who I missed. I didn't read. What is their language derived from? Would it be the same geographically in Canada as it is in Oklahoma, etc.?
Um, I would venture to say that their language is their language. Different areas, different dialects. I know that they speak Navajo. I know they speak Spanish. I know they speak English, and I know they speak whatever it is their language is.
Yeah, it would seem to me that it would be regional too, as far as
Mhm.
you know,
Well, who they're around
in
is
Canada, they probably understand French, you
yeah.
know. But it also, you would also think that there are a lot of different native languages, being that there were so many different native tribes in throughout the country over, in history, that they all had different languages. So, you
Mhm.
know,
Well, and
with these
other
things,
and look at how other languages, intermingle. Simple case, taco. I don't have to explain to you what language that is and what it means, but because we don't have an English word for taco, so we took the Spanish word taco, and everybody knows what a taco is. And if you don't, you are losing out. And I'm not talking Taco Bell either.
okay.
But their language is sophisticated. They have clicks and pops in it, kind of like Aborigines do. Um, but yeah, it's they have their own language, and we believe that they know every language of anybody they're around. So
But then it makes me wonder, maybe it's not about the language, it's more about hmm, something else. I like, for instance, nah, I'm trying to, I was going to put it to like a universal translator type thing. Like maybe it's not about the language, it's about the feeling or the intent. If they're doing mind speak, if, you know, maybe the language doesn't matter, you
and
know,
and that's kind of how we feel.
you know what I mean? If that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. I
No,
know it's not cross, right? Javier, what's up, man? Cryptid 559. Good to see you. Every once in a while, I look at things a little differently.
well, we got to look at everything differently.
Absolutely.
You got to get away from how we were trained since children to think about things and what's real and what isn't real.
See that my mom said mind speak is universal. It's a possibility.
Yep. We believe that.
Let me go back and see if I missed anything. Choctaw have mouth clicks too. My mom said she couldn't figure out her grandpa out when he would talk. Canadians, they say more in Canada, and say a boot, out in a boot, in a boot.
Don't you know?
Eh. I think the don't you knows are more Minnesota.
It is. I think it drifted south out of Canada. So
Probably. Hey, Bob Van Buren. Van Buren Variety. What's up, dude? And it's little Wisconsin-y too. Don't you know?
don't you know? Now, even as far south as Iowa, my
Oh
wife's
yeah.
sis- my wife's sister, uh, she lives in Minnesota now, and I think because Minnesota can understand her better, but she's always, don't you know?
It's interesting to, like, I've had an opportunity to live in different parts of the country, and just
I'm still
to
here.
see that regionalization, like, the the different accents and the different phrases, and you know just I'm still fascinated. Like, I love the way they talk in Louisiana. I love it.
And that's one of the things. You go into any branch of the military, you learn how everybody talks.
Oh yeah.
We had this one kid that was out. He wasn't part of my platoon or anything, but he was always out in the motor pool because his vehicles. Uh, he wasn't doing his checks right, but and you change somebody saying motherfucker. I was like, what? This mother just point, dude. That could not understand a word that kid ever said except for motherfucker.
So Lockbeard says, I am not your friend, guy. I'm not your guy, buddy. I'm not your buddy, friend.
Huh?
I don't know.
Something is mind speaking to him, and he's replying. I think.
No, I mean, I say, what's up, buddy? I don't say, it's a guy. Yeah, I do say that. Whatever.
Okay, I'll tip over.
So how you doing, Jeff?
So, how are you guys tonight? You were touching on a topic I kind of felt was interesting. I mean,
Mind speak?
yeah, I don't, like I say, I don't speak factually on anything. I mean, I might have some strong theories, but I don't want to mislead anybody into thinking that I know for sure something is something when I'm not. But if it was real and if it works, that's not saying I have or haven't experienced it, but it would have to be something that is output not with a language in mind, meaning it's derived from emotion, feeling,
Intention,
inflection, intention, and that message is, telepathically, if you will, put out
it's
there.
universal. It's not
And
language.
if you're receiving those feelings and intentions and emotions, you're interpreting them in whatever language you're fluent in. So, I mean, if you can speak French and can't speak English, and I can speak English, can't speak French, we may both be hearing the same thing, So, I mean, otherwise it wouldn't work. I mean, that's flat out. It wouldn't work if that was the case. Kind of the same with, their native language. Hearing them speak in a language geographically, I mean, if it is based on a native influence or centuries old dialect that they've picked up, it wouldn't be universal to the species. It'd be universal to the geography of where that particular individual would be. And I think that's probably pretty plausible. I mean, when you're developing a language, I would think that you're going to mimic that which you are exposed to or is in your environment or that you're familiar with. And, if they did have interaction or, had the capability of learning just simply by watching or hearing, not even necessarily interacting, just hearing, you might pick it up. If I followed you around all day and heard you talk, I might not try to communicate with you directly, but I'm going to kind of figure out when you point to coffee and say coffee, I'm going to know that's what you're talking about.
Think about all the stories you've heard of. Okay, an immigrant comes to America and they learned English watching I Love Lucy or something on TV.
Yeah. I had a Hispanic drywall crew working in my basement last year, 4 guys, and they played 50s music, like Spanish artists in their, guitar style and all that flamenco guitar style it was all like Elvis tunes and Jerry Lee Lewis and stuff, but it was redone and they'd play it full blast in my basement. It's like I walked into 1950s Casa del Rey or something, and they're singing along with it. And I went down and I said, how do you guys get so really into the oldies? And he said, that's how most of us learn to speak English. And that's why so many Hispanic artists redo those songs and remake them, even today. Because back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, these immigrants that would come here who spoke Spanish would listen to the songs of the time over and over and kind of figure out the love story or whatever the song was speaking to, And they still do that today because Hispanic artists take the time to redo those songs. And that's still a genre that's alive and well, so to speak, in the Hispanic culture. But yeah, I think it's interesting testimony to how this could work. I mean, really, that's all we have is when we look at these theories that we develop based on our research and the data we get and what we start seeing repeating itself over and over in our areas that we research. You develop really strong theories, and whether or not they're fact or not, until I got one live chained to a tree sitting in front of me and I can question them about it, I have to assume it's still a theory. But we look for these plausible explanations, and with mind speak, I mean, it's kind of the same thing with other areas of the paranormal, whether it's orbs or UFOs, aliens, ghosts. I'm not going to sit here and try to tell somebody factually something is real that my data doesn't show it is, but through personal experience, I'd have to say that it probably is. I mean, there's too many instances, just like 10,000 cave drawings and 50,000 encounter stories. There's just too many for it not to be real, right?
Not everybody's lying.
Yeah, but no.
Well, everybody can't be lying.
No.
When you look at something as simple as somebody can be sentenced to death on the testimony of 2 or more people, and so the court system and the prison systems and the legal system, that they have 2 credible eyewitnesses that saw you do what you did and come out and state it. That's enough to get you convicted and sentenced to death. And the scientific community is okay with those kind of statistics.
And they don't even have to be super credible witnesses, as long as they don't have a dozen felonies on their record. They're nobody's gonna look at what they do for a living, how many times they've been divorced, none of that factors in. They just say, if you're not a felon, basically you're allowed to testify anything you want and we'll believe it,
But yet with the subject, mainstream academia.
Oh yeah, 2 people say they saw something, and they've been hitting the hooch.
Yeah.
It's
well, no, you didn't come from the government point, but
yeah,
the rest of society is like, you're nuts.
Yeah.
I was talking to Pat today about other areas of the paranormal that people look at and say, is this real or not? And I started out loud, just thinking this out loud, trying to run through my head on what I thought was plausibly could exist and what didn't, right? And there's some things that, boy, it's a stretch. And there's other things that you think, well, it's not hard to wrap your head around. But really, when you started at the end of covering all those areas, you go back to Bigfoot. I got to say this, even as a Bigfoot researcher who's had an experience, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that they're real. But for somebody who hasn't had an experience like that, when you look at UFOs and aliens and ghosts, and it's almost easier to argue a case that they exist than Bigfoot does if you haven't had an encounter.
Oh, that's absolutely true.
It is. I mean, if I said, well, I think aliens exist, look, the government's opening up about it. There's more people that have seen lights in the sky that they can't explain than there are people who've seen Bigfoot. There's more people who've heard a voice in their house or seen an object tip over that they couldn't explain and said, man, I think I believe in ghosts, than there are people who say, I think I believe in Bigfoot. So,
well, that's my situation. Is mine? All my experiences are paranormal, but I am, like I said, fascinated by this subject. So I'd like to see a Bigfoot, but I know the weird shit's happened. So that was always my argument. Why not give flesh and blood a chance?
I saw on a survey that was done, and this was a survey that wasn't done by some paranormal group. This was a survey done by a university that said 18% of Americans, and they surveyed like over 1,000, 18% believe that ghosts are real. 42% believe that they have an ancestral spirit guide or a guardian angel that looks over them. And I'm thinking, not that I have any feelings on one of those numbers being high or low, but I find it fascinating that only 18% admit to believing ghosts are real, but 42% believe that somebody has died and is following them around in the form of a guardian angel.
That makes you
You
kind of
think
go,
those numbers
huh?
would be a little bit closer, wouldn't they?
You would think.
Well, guardian angel sounds better than a ghost, so they'll lean towards that. It's more religious. Ghost is just a ghost, in my opinion.
It still makes you go, huh?
Yeah, it's just like, it'd be like saying 18% of people believe that aliens exist, but 42% believe UFOs are real. Well, who the
Who's
hell
driving
built
them?
them in the sky,
Oh, I know the answer.
But it's just two data points that seem like they're a little too far apart to digest. But
that's phenomenal. But yeah, what I could tell you is, so many times when I'm out or my team is out with me, yeah, we sit there and we shake our heads and go, how the hell do we ever try to explain this to somebody? And you can't. I can tell you a whole crapload of things that have happened, but to try to explain to you how it happened, it caused me to dive into quantum physics, which made my brain hurt. And I finally gave up and just said it's happening, and it's happening for a reason. And my level of understanding just is not capable of opening that file.
I like what Kathy's saying here, because
I want to ghosts keep playing music in my house. So are they dicking with the radio? Do they have a band?
I'll tell you, I think ghosts are fascinated with musical instruments. And I say this because I have a good collection of guitars that normally hang on my wall. I've got one leaning against the wall behind me because I was using it earlier. But I've had it, and I can't tell you the exact number of times, but more than 2 or 3, where I'm laying in bed and I'll hear just one string, bing, on a guitar get plucked. And it's like, well, did a moth fly into it, or what's going on here? And there's a lot of accounts of people who have pianos hearing ding, just one key getting hit. And it's like, if you understand the mechanics of it, a key being pressed down, triggering a felt hammer to ding off of a string. This is not something where something brushed against something. I mean, it takes pressure to deploy a non-weighted or a weighted key like that. So,
I could tell you all kinds of ghost stories. We've had one with us since 1989 when I was stationed at Fort Knox. We call him Bob. Bob does all kinds of things. Garbage disposal will get turned on, and it's not like he's here all the time. He'll show up, do something like, "Hey, I'm here." Shut a door, turn the TV off. Garbage disposal's gone on. Vacuum cleaner. I had a power tool on my workbench, electric one, turn itself on.
I've had that before. I've had a bench grinder, just an angle. I shouldn't say an angle grinder, laying on my workbench. And quite honestly, when I want to turn it on, the freaking switch, you got to push it hard. I hate the rocker switch on it. Even like if I'm wearing a glove, it's like, I can't push that thing down, right? I had it one day where I was working in the garage and bing, it just turns on. Now, I don't know if that thing was half flipped and it just, for whatever reason, but boy, I'll tell you what, it scared the living snot out of me when it came on. But yeah, I'm going to start covering more and more topics like that from a research base, not from a woo base. I mean, I'm going to kind of revamp my site a little bit. I mean, when I started it, it was because I was doing so much research and involved in a big project like that, was the tech, tools, and tactics of Sasquatch research. And, you know, I don't want to, if I'm going to talk about a scientific approach to plausible explanations as to other areas of the paranormal, so to speak, I don't want to approach it real loosely. You know what I mean? Or I want to just say, hey, look, if I want to, first of all, I've been working on one deal for like 6 weeks, just like one story or one show that has to do with the SR-71 Blackbird, and it's designed from the mid-50s on through 1963 when they finally got it airborne. And the design team in particular, the 17 engineers that worked on it, some of the things that they encountered in the design and how technology was at that point in the world and what was brought to them to use by people who weren't engineers. And when you hear these stories and these accounts of these engineers talking about it, I mean, it kind of makes you realize this is not bullshit. I mean, I want to talk about those types of things and then say, could that have happened or couldn't it? I'm not going to say that it did or it didn't. But I'd like to be able to talk about topics like that because I think they're interesting to people. And I think
are you talking about technology that was brought to them?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I'm going to be talking about it. I'm going to be talking about it this weekend on a different show with Jim over on her show Saturday night. But it's a show where she brings a topic to the table that she doesn't tell me ahead of time. They talk about for an hour. And then the second hour, I bring a topic up and talk about it. And it's a chance for the chat to kind of, you know, pipe in and say how they feel about what their theories are. But that way the show just doesn't go 2 hours stuck in a rut. You know, there's a dynamic change halfway through. But this thing that I've been working on was based on, I read an interview online 8 years ago. And literally 3 weeks later, that interview was not on Google or you can't find it in search. And right now, if you search an SR-71 Blackbird /UFO connection, and you just search that, the only thing that's really going to return is the references of over at Skunk Works, which was Lockheed's secret area that they designed these types of aircraft, that when they would test fly these up and down the West Coast at night, people thought they were UFOs. Not because of the angular maneuvering, but because of the blistering speed that they covered at Mach 3.3. I mean, it's 2,200 miles an hour. Nobody at that time would have seen that moving and thought it was an aircraft at that speed. There's just no way. So, you know, thousands of people would report, I see a UFO when they'd see one of these flying at night off the coast. But that's really all you see is it references to that mistaken identity, so to speak, of the aircraft. There really isn't much conspiracy recorded. And I kind of wonder if, you know, right now, if that interview would have been put on Google, maybe it's not taken off because the government's trying to open up about this stuff a little bit. But 8 years ago, I mean, I could see where a guy puts this interview up and a couple of weeks later, it's not there anymore just because, look, you're not going to open up that can of worms, you know.
Hey, Russ, I'm gonna sign out. I got to go take care of something for Mama. So,
all right, man.
But hey, Jeff, great talking with you.
Yeah,
hope to talk some more in the future.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting you on the show sometime talking about different things like this.
Yeah, not a problem.
All right, man.
All right, Russ. We'll talk to you later.
Take care, Kim. Thank you very much.
You bet. We'll keep in touch. All right. Good night.
All right.
So anyways, these 17 engineers are the smartest minds in the world, really, when it came to developing technology. They were building this plane, and it was the first plane ever in history that wasn't built contracted by the government to be built. That wasn't being built for a branch like the Air Force or the Navy. This thing was being built for the CIA, not a branch of the military, because it was going to be a spy plane. And so the CIA doesn't employ engineers or anything that would have that developmental ability to come up with something. That's why they hired Lockheed and their 17 engineers who were the brain children of the day, so to speak. And there was no other country that was advanced in technology in that area in front of us. We were the first to space. We were the first to, we had the most developed aircraft. China, Russia, all of them were a decade behind us at that time in 1960 of developing stuff like this. So their problem is this is the first plane that was going to be designed to evade radar. And at the time, all the skin on these aircraft were smooth aluminum. You know, I mean, it was reflecting radar very easily. And now almost every plane that gets built for the military has that eggshell surface like the stealths and whatnot.
Yeah, but the stealths also have the design in itself.
Oh yeah, the angular
everything
shapes
that
are
does-
made
yeah,
to
doesn't
deflect
reflect.
radar rather than return it. But
Yeah.
the surface of them really started changing like in the mid 70s with the early version in the 80s with the Tomcats and stuff. Boy, they didn't have really smooth surface jets at that time. Everything had a little texture to it on the underside. So, but at this time, they were like, dude, how are we going to do this, right? And they were getting behind on schedule. And this two gentlemen walk in, and they're in suits with a briefcase. So we're with the CIA. They handed them a 12-inch by 12-inch square piece of sheet metal that was paper thin, and it had no flex to it at all. I mean, you could not flex it, you could not break it, but the surface was covered in that. And they said, you need to figure out a substance that will handle those speeds and temperatures at that 85,000 foot height. That will, and this is the texture you need to achieve to deflect radar properly. And these engineers were kind of like head tilted, like, who are you? Where did you get this? And there's no answers. Just here it is, do it. Well, they kind of chalked that up to coincidence, like maybe they did steal this from China or Japan. Maybe they got it from somebody else. So they kind of wrote it off. And then they started getting a major dilemma. When they'd fly the SR-71 above 50,000 square foot, the fuel delivery system, the fuel would slush up in it. I mean, it would get so at that height, at that fast, it would slush up. Despite the temperature of the aircraft running at 2,200 miles an hour, it just was so cold at that height that they couldn't keep it from freezing. And so Shell had designed a special fuel, and I think it's MP7 or whatever they called it, LP7, that was specifically they made for that aircraft. And the fumes of it was so volatile and highly ignitable that they really had to revamp the whole way that air comes in, where the front wheel on the front of the plane like scoops in and retracts, that there was vents there to pull it and just scream this air 2,200 miles through the fuselage to clear those fumes, because they were worried it'd blow the plane up.
Sure.
So to fix the whole fuel gel thing, they couldn't just put heater tape or something like that around these fuel lines, because that would pose a problem. And they got 18 months behind, because once they'd hit 50-some thousand feet, it'd slush up, and they couldn't get this fixed. And they were perplexed. And in comes these same two guys. They had interviewed the last living engineer on that team. They'd all passed away. The 16th one had passed away 2 months prior to this event, when the 17th one went to this guy who wrote this book on the SR-71 and said, I'd like to disclose to you what I know about our experience there. And he was like, okay. And so he started talking, and this guy said straight out, he told him this story about the skin deal. They wrote it off as maybe the government got it from another country and just doesn't want to tell us where. That's fine. But these guys came in and brought in a rolled up deal and pulled these poster sized sheets out, laid it down, and said, here's a blueprint for a fuel delivery system that will work on this plane at 85,000 feet at that speed. And these engineers all hovered over this conference table looking at it, and they couldn't get it. I mean, they're like, well, how does that integrate with it? And these guys are saying, you know, we don't have that information. You're supposed to figure it out here on these blueprints. And they were trying to piece it together. And then one of the guys pulls in a crate on wheels that was about the size of a red wagon, you know, opens it up and pulls out an actual size of this fuel delivery system. It was like a modern day fuel injection system, sets it on the table. These engineers start looking at it, and these two guys explain to them, we want you to reverse engineer this
on a grander scale.
On a grander scale that will adapt to this aircraft, meaning you're going to have to, it wasn't a grander scale, you're going to actually have to dumb down the technology a little bit that you're going to find in order to get it to work on this. And it's all labeled in the blueprints, what you're looking at here. So as you take it apart, you can reference the blueprints and start figuring out as you take it apart why something does what, so to speak. Because these two guys weren't capable of explaining it. And they left, and these engineers started looking at this model, and they were taking it apart. And this is all according to this guy's testimony, that there were components in this, like little elbows and forms that were metal, that were not platinum, and they were not stainless steel. Stainless steel, I believe, will probably melt, or platinum will melt at about 3,200 degrees. They would heat this stuff up to like 4,500 degrees. They couldn't melt it. They said, they didn't even know. He said, elementally, didn't appear to be anything we'd recognized at this point. And so they were kind of perplexed by this, and they started looking at it. And within, like, I think it was 55 days, he said, they had that plane flying at 85,000 feet. And they had built 30 injection systems off of that plane to work on all 30 of the aircraft that they had produced. Now, when this guy interviewing this engineer, he asked him, do you think that system that they set in front of you was from a ship or a craft that wasn't from this world? And he said flat out, no. And he said, well, what are you proposing here? What are you thinking? He says, all of us engineers talked about this in depth. And we felt that, one, if you were to try to fly any type of an aircraft that use a liquid fuel delivery system, it would work completely different with a lack of gravity, or in another atmosphere that didn't have the exact same gravity that we do, and would take different propulsion systems maybe to keep it in the air. You know, none of that would be relevant to it finding one that's exactly like ours, right? So we don't think it was unbolted from something that was from our other world saying, here you go. He said, but we do believe it was produced by someone or something that had the intellectual capability to produce this item based on technology they would have been familiar with, because this technology did not exist in anywhere on Earth in 1960.
So how did they reproduce 30 of them if they didn't? Like you said,
because
some
the metal that was
used,
used, that metal that they didn't identify, he said we made them out of stainless steel, and that was good enough to fly at 85,000 feet.
right.
Their big thing was they didn't understand what metal this was made out of, and they weren't allowed to keep it. They weren't allowed to test it. He said we actually tried to melt it in the lab just to see if we could, and the heat source they had wouldn't get hotter than 4,500 degrees.
Yeah.
And then this guy also says, go interview any of the existing pilots alive that have ever flown that aircraft, and they'll tell you that the government lied about its capabilities. Because he said, we know all 7 test pilots that were flying those planes when they had finished designing it. All 7 of those pilots, it was a really difficult aircraft to fly, first of all, really hard to fly. But he said all 7 of them testified that the government said that it would do Mach 3.3, which is 2,200 miles an hour. He said all 7 of them said that they had pushed that aircraft to 2,950 miles an hour, which is Mach 4. Now, I don't know why the government wouldn't they just be open about that, right? Like, if you're going to talk about what it's capable, why wouldn't you, if you're going to say it can do Mach 3.3, which blows your mind, why wouldn't you just say it can do Mach 4? Because they're claiming it could. So it just makes you wonder if the government was willing to had reasons to mislead people on its capabilities. Well, what else would they have misled people?
Sure.
But, it's really kind of an interesting idea that people always say, well, I believe in Men in Black, or I believe the government doesn't want. And, what proof do you have? This is actually, according to this guy's account, pretty substantial evidence that he knew what he was talking about. We know he was one of the engineers, and he was the last one living. And that's when he felt comfortable enough to betray the oath they all took that they aren't going to talk about it.
Well, when you are the last one, it's like, what are they going to do?
What do you have to lose, right? But no, so I thought I'd like to be able to talk about things like that on the show without, it's not woo. I mean, it's maybe a little conspiracy based, like, how much factual evidence do we have to prove
it's
it?
curious. It's very curious as to where that technology came from.
Yeah. I think they're probably, these guys are smart. I mean, I think they analyzed this well too, as far as that question. Do you think it did they get this from a crashed, ship somewhere and say, here you go? No, he says, I don't believe this thing could have worked on a ship that works in zero gravity or, in an atmosphere that's not like the one we operate in. However, whoever designed it had an understanding of how propulsion systems would work that don't exist here yet at that time. But
sorry, that was funny.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Just embarrassed the hell out of Kathy, but hey,
put it up there. Well, she shouldn't have typed it. She didn't want us all to know. If you don't want us talking about your poop, don't put it in chat, because
talk about propulsion. Woo.
So how have you been? What have you been up to?
I'm doing all right. Just like I said earlier, just dealing with life, trying to get through everything that's been going on. And
yeah, I hear you. I'm doing the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Boy, we had some storms here tonight, man.
Holy
smokes. We had one wave come through, and I took pictures of the radar. I should probably show you it, but it was 117 mile an hour straight line winds with this storm.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and it was leveling, freaking taking roofs off it. Some of these small towns that got these homes, that are like 100 years old or more.
Were these like microbursts?
No, this was a developed storm that went from Omaha all the way up just short of the South Dakota-North Dakota border. I mean, it was 200 miles long, arced as it came from west to east.
Big bow.
But out in front of it, it was pushing. The whole storm was traveling at 75 miles an hour.
Oh, shit.
I mean, it looked huge on the radar when it got here. Literally 20, 25 minutes is done. That's how fast it was moving. But out in front of it, they were saying, we're going to have winds up to 80 miles an hour. I thought, shit, that's crazy. Normally like 50 is about tops here for a straight line wind. And microbursts, you can get those up there. They're usually pushing almost down and forward as that wall cloud will come over. But this was a huge developed system, and it was pushing wind out in front of it so hard that the further it went, by the time it got to us, I measured on our setup outside 102, but I heard that the news was reporting that it was 107 miles an hour. It was blowing water towers over in some of these small towns. Jeez. And there's about it. I couldn't believe it. I didn't lose my power. And somebody had asked me to be on a show tonight, and I seen the storm. I was like, man, yeah, I know this power's going to go up. There's like 300,000 people around here without power in all these small towns because they haven't gotten it restored yet. But
that's terrible.
But we didn't have.
Everybody was affected.
It was like 3 hours before sundown when this thing rolled through, and it was black as midnight outside because everybody's turned their fields over in farmland here, getting ready to plant. So when those winds come, they just collect all the dirt off those millions of acres. So you can see the wind. It's just black because it's filled with dirt in it. But
that's how it's been here. I mean, we've had I don't want to say dust storms, but it's been so windy that some days I couldn't see the mountain. It's only a mile away.
Yeah.
It was
I've
just, it
had
looked
that.
like a
I've
haze,
seen
but it
that
was a
too.
sand color, you know.
When I was up in New Hampshire a lot, up in the White Mountains,
Beautiful.
you'd get what's called sucker clouds. What would happen is big rain systems would come and they'd hit the mountain. You know, they're not real high. They'd hit the mountain and pile up behind the mountain. You'd be out on the other side of the mountain on the golf course. It'd be sunny and 75, 80 degrees. And you're like, man, it's a beautiful day. And finally, that would pile up so bad on the other side of the
It
mountain, it
starts
just
coming
all
over the
topple
mountain.
over it. And it was like an avalanche of black clouds and rain would just blast down on you in the middle of the day. They call them sucker holes or sucker storms or whatever.
Get you when you're not looking.
Well, they suck you into thinking it's nice enough to do something, and then you go out and do it, and boom, it's on there right away again.
Sucker.
But
Murray, how's it going, man? Great to see you. I'm slacking. I'm sure somebody's been putting the link in chat, but it wasn't me for the past 20 minutes.
yeah, let's see, Miss Jill just popped it in.
Who else we got in here?
Yeah, I missed you on Tuesday night. I had some crap going on, but yeah, I'm like you. I can go 2 weeks, no stress, just floating along. And then all of a sudden, it's like it's cyclic. Like all of a sudden, you got all this shit going on and fires to put out. And it's like, what is going on here? I'm explained and told by, me and Gemma have been working on different things now. And she's really into the whole astrology thing and oracles and stuff. That Mercury is in retrograde, okay? Mercury's in retrograde. It's moving backwards, and it is fucking up everybody's lives right now. And if you've got big decisions to make and big things that you're working on, put them on hold until like the first week of June when we get this past us.
So don't tell your boss
whatever
to fuck
there
right
is
away.
to that. I'm not gonna, but I've never really been into that. But boy, I'll tell you what, with the way the last couple of days have gone, I'm starting to think that there's something to it. But
Richie says that was so beautiful, Mugs, with the mountains behind you today. I was talking to Richie on Messenger, but on camera, and I was showing him around, and I turned the camera around, and in the distance, we got, even though it's a mile away on a camera, it looks small, but yeah, it's gorgeous out here.
Yep, it is.
Murray says, don't overfill your Zippo. Good idea, because then the whole thing just flames. First time you light it, you're screwed.
Yeah, I remember when my parents first retired and had moved down to the Mesa area and the Superstition Mountains. I mean, it's really a neat area as far as, because what's really cool about it is within, where I live, you want to get to, like if it's, hey, let's go do that. Oh, that's 3 hours away. That's no big deal to us. We drive 90 miles an hour and 3 hours we're there. Boom, boom, boom. Down there, it's like within 3 hours, there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, you've got the rim, you've got, even if you get over in the corner of New Mexico, I mean, there's so many things, different areas. I mean, it's like, well, there's mountains, and they're not all the same mountains. It's like crazy how.
Well, that's like here, like right, whichever direction it is over there where Sedona is. You got the sandstone red rock. It's the iron oxide causes it, rusts. But you go to the mountains that are this way, that are a mile away. When you go over that mountain, you go into the Prescott Valley, and within that valley, all of a sudden you hit granite.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see these big granite fields. Like, where the fuck?
That's the way it is on the western side of South Dakota, where Mount Rushmore and all that in the Black Hills, there's mountains, and it's cool. It's all pined mountains, But just before that, just east of there, is the Badlands. And we're talking an hour away from all these mountains is the Badlands, which you drive through the Badlands on a motorcycle at night. It's like driving across Mars. I mean, the landscape, the Badlands, it's not mountains. It's freaking rock outcroppings that are huge all over, and it's so
I've
expansive. It's
seen
like,
just pictures of it. I'd love
it
to
looks
check
like
it
a
out.
different planet when you're there. There's nothing green at all. It's all rock. But
I'm just thinking I have to take a ride. No, I'm serious, man. Soon.
I don't have
Couple
a
months.
bike anymore, but boy,
Oh,
I'll
I
tell
don't
you
know how
what,
to bike.
I'd love to.
I'm just or a drive, I should say. I want to head up, go check up Idaho and go up to the Montana and then shoot over. I want to see Utah and shoot over, go to the Dakotas, and
Mhm.
I have yet to see Wyoming. I've never seen any of that.
Yeah, I used to have a bike, and then when our kids got, I had to have one for a while because for 5 years I was running doing business consulting from my home office while I was the stay-at-home dad because we didn't want to put our boys in daycare. And I'll tell you, I had to have a bike then because in the evening when she would get home from the bank, I'd have to get on that bike and go just ride to get fucking Barney and Sesame Street and all this shit out of my head. I was about losing my mind every night. So, I mean, it was therapy for me.
Yeah.
But now I look back at it and think, man, I wish I never would have sold. Of course, if I wouldn't have sold it, I'd probably want something newer now anyways. It was probably good that I did, but
Mid South wants to know. So, Jeff, what do you think about the chemtrail conspiracy?
That's interesting because I'm about 50-50 on it. I know when people say, oh, chemtrails, here's pictures of chemtrails. Well, I'll tell you what, depending on the conditions and where you're at, as far as jet traffic, one of these main flyways, it is possible for people to think that something's a chemtrail and it's not really a chemtrail. However, then you start seeing rows of them and grids of them over and over in areas that normally aren't big commercial air traffic areas. As far as and that changes, like how a jet will fly, let's say from New York to Chicago, depending on where the jet stream is. It's not always the same exact route. But if you look at where the jet stream is and you look at the major hub airports and where the 80% of that air traffic is flown to, and then you start seeing grids of chemtrails showing up that aren't on that beaten path. Now you start realizing there's something to that. And I do believe it is a real phenomenon as far as what they're trying to achieve by doing it. If it influences weather patterns or if it, whatever it does. I mean, most people, I think, tend to lean towards it. It influences a weather pattern, but I'm not convinced of that, to be honest with you. I think that they are real, but I don't know that it's all designed to establish, let's say, certain weather patterns. I think it could be more nefarious than that, but
it has its possibility, for because you hear so many different things. Oh, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that, and I'm like, it just looks like a friggin' contrail to me. I couldn't tell you the difference if it was a chemtrail or a contrail or.
Yeah.
And I've seen grids, like you're talking about. I see them out here,
No, I hear you. I think this is one of those examples, though, where it would be more conducive for the government to just come clean and say, this is what our objective is, whatever. If it's not nefarious, if they're trying to do something to influence something, or whether it be weather patterns or whatever. Because what happens is people notice these things. And what's really crazy is how they interpret what they're seeing. That's where the craziness comes in. I don't think there's any argument whether or not there's chemtrails. The argument is what are they designed to do, right? And that can go from something real innocent, like, well, they're planting rain clouds. They just want it to rain wherever that. And then other people are like, well, no, those are chemicals. They're designed, And at some point, we aren't even arguing about whether or not they're real. We're arguing about what we think they do. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, there's more arguments as to what do wood knocks mean than there are as to, do you think wood knocks are really Sasquatch pounding on a tree with a piece of wood? I think most people who are believers accept that that's what it is. It's the interpretation of what does three of them mean versus what does two of them mean, and I think that's the case here, is when you ask about chemtrails, and there's a lot of other things that conspiracy theories are built around. What they're doing is they're taking something that people acknowledge that we're seeing this, right? It's how do we explain it or how do we interpret it where the conspiracy really gets woven, The catalyst that starts it is usually a real thing. But
sorry, I'm choking here. I get this tickle in my throat and it won't go away. And I ran out of water. Oh no,
that ain't good.
No, I didn't. I'm good. I'll live.
Yeah, Richie asked Jay, how's it going with that young 40 lady friend? Well, he's still alive, so
that's always a plus. Something's going right.
But yeah, so I was just gonna pop on and chime in. I thought that was an interesting discussion about the mind.
Oops, I dropped my phone. I thought it was Stevie saying that at first. I read that she's always dropping her phone. No, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah. Stevie popped in last night on Jim's deal when she was doing Oracle card readings, and everybody got to meet Stevie. Everybody's first they were like, hey, tell Stevie that we're going to do his reading next. I'm like, Stevie's a woman. I'm tying over and over. Like, that's not a guy. Come on. But I just kept saying over and over, look, there's nobody in this chat that's a bigger influence on people in the community than her.
Mogan Monster, quick question. Is July trip a kickback? We all go in a Kev spot. Is it around Paranormal or Sasquatch? No, it's a friggin' camping trip, dude.
Yeah, it's about the beer and the weed.
Well, no, I mean it's just kicking back. It is. It's a kickback. I'm not even going to Kevin's spot. Everybody's welcome to do what they want to do. I'm sure Kevin will come hang out, and but it's the same mountain, And as the crow flies, one of his spots is probably 6 miles, 7 miles.
Yeah,
it's the same area. And granted, it does get crowded up there. But, I don't know what else to do. Where else to go? Seems like a good spot.
Well, what's nice is you were saying that, you really don't need reservations. It's just you come and squat, right? I mean, first come, first serve, so to speak.
Yeah. So how do I secure, I don't even know how many campsites, I could bring.
Well, I think the nice thing is that, if most of the people are tent camping rather than pulling big fifth wheels, I mean, you get 3 or 4 of them in a row, whether you got 4 tents or whether you got 20 tents set up on it, who gives a shit? You've got a footprint reserved to.
Sure.
And they might have to get creative with where they park their vehicles after they unload everything, but everybody should be able to camp in the same area.
Let's see.
Well, I'm going to fly, buddy. Somebody needs to come fill this seat, though. Mr. Lee, Miss Dill, somebody out there, I appreciate you letting me pop on, and we'll see you next week, buddy.
Oh, anytime, man. Did
Take
you
care.
let Gemma know I want her to come say hi over here one day?
Yeah, I told her. So I
Said
think
who?
that's probably going to be on Thursday night, Thursday night next week. She'll
Right on.
pop over, and I'll get her the link ahead of time so she can pop in, and we can talk a little bit about the show we do on her channel a little bit. But she can also, heck, she'll bring her cards and read you.
Do what
Give
she
you a
wants.
reading if you want. She's pretty good at it, but
I'm not opposed to a reading.
yeah, I'm like I say, I mean, I'm open-minded to it. I can tell you one time though, the first time she ever gave me a reading, I was like, I don't really know what to expect here, right? And I had this deal that I was getting ready to sign on a business deal that I got involved with in Wisconsin. Bought 10% of the sand mine in Wisconsin. And I was like, man, it really looks good on paper. Like, because they make the fine white sand they use for fracking and stuff. And with the gas prices going up, even with dumbass in office, he was going to open some of these smaller operations up so they could start drilling, right? And so I thought this is a good time. I got into it, and I hadn't signed the paper yet. And she was saying, you know, if you, and I'd been reserved about this, like, man, this is a lot of money. And she said, you know, do not put off a big opportunity. It might even be one you've already started and you haven't finalized yet, but do not put this off. I'm telling you what, this is 2 months ago. This thing is already cranking money. I mean, I would have been ready to jump off my roof head first
Had you not done it.
So, I mean, I just, like I say, I'm not going to swear up and down by him, but boy, the first time she did that, I was like, okay, when are we doing this again? Because I need to know more, you know. But,
dude, you gotta see this. Hold on. Mr. Lee says, Richie, that would be cool to see it. You seen my harpoon? Fucking Richie goes, harpoon? Really? Like, no, he's legit. It's an actual harpoon. Mr. Lee, I have a picture of him holding it.
really?
But, well, yeah. I think I don't know if that's how Richie just took that but yeah, he has a harpoon or a spear. It's pretty cool. I don't have do I? I have the picture in email. I have to transfer it over so I can show it. Just not this second. Anastasia, how are you? It's a new name. Good to see you. Welcome. Unfortunately, we're nearing the end.
All right. Well, you take it easy, buddy. I got to
All
get
right,
full here. Thanks to everybody in chat for putting up with me for a little bit, and we'll probably see you next week.
Yeah, you know where to find me, and I'll see you soon.
Yep.
All right,
We'll
dude. Thank you. Good night. That was cool. He's always got something, you know, passionate to talk about. He talks with a passion, you know, his subject, whatever he gets on, he's passionate about it, which is cool. You know, now you know more than you wanted to know about the SR-71 Blackbird. But, you know, it's that or what, fishing? No, that's pretty cool about the whole technology thing, if that story is true. I mean, where did they come up with that technology? Richie says, I almost missed the show. I thought it was still at 11. No, dude. Nope. It's been this time for how long now? Come on, Richie. Step away from the pipe. It's not a crack pipe. My father was a harpoon with a normal test. Oh, that's cool. I'll tell you what, man. I was watching, I'm sure you guys have watched it, like the whole Wicked Tuna those type of shows where they go out tuna fishing. Well, there's these guys that this one guy, there's a harpoon season for tuna, and they have a spotter plane, and it's got to be expensive as fuck to run this operation this way. Spotter plane goes up, circles around, finds the schools. Boat comes in, but the guy is all the way up on the prow, all the way up front, leaning forward, and he's like to the left. The pilot and the guy in the front can talk to each other, and he's like, it's on the left, and also the guy driving the boat. So he's adjusting, but they pull in these big ass tunas harpooning. But it would seem to me, I mean, if they get a 400-pound tuna and going price is $15 a pound, how many do you need to actually make money? I mean, you got to pay for the gas for the boat, airplane, or are they just doing this for the show, But it was pretty cool to watch this guy harpooning tuna. Sue says 10K average for a big tuna. Yeah, what? Why does this fucker keep moving? I didn't realize you guys were that busy in chat. It's just like, yeah, it all depends on the market price of the tuna. But it's weird how I could watch a show and these guys come in, and I don't know if they're going to different weigh-in spots, but how during one show the price varies from $12 to $20. Sure, it's the quality of the tuna, but it's a really drastic price fluctuation. But yeah, those guys, I've seen them get 10 grand for a tuna. Bluefin tuna, big money. Well, so's the yellowfin. I think yellowfin get bigger. I think that's the yellowfin that gets bigger. And they're catching, I think it's the bluefin they're catching off like Hawaii, and in the Pacific. I don't know if there's any bluefin in the Atlantic. Just could be talking out my ass and saying I don't know. I mean, I grew up fishing, but I never got out to go tuna fishing. I'm speechless there, Rich. Just one gummy and blood pressure med at 9:41. Wow. Drake says he fished tuna 10 years. Oh, really? Where? Bluefin tuna gets bigger? All right. Wasn't sure. Where'd you fish? Yeah, Grasshopper's right. Not many large tuna out there now, overfished. Nah, but come on. Fishing tuna with a harpoon? That to me, that's like bow hunting. That's skill, man. Anybody can throw out a hook and a piece of bait. And their seasons are pretty regulated. It's, as far as, but once you get into the international waters and you get, people like Japan and other countries that are overfishing commercially. But, the shows we're watching, they're out there and, rod and reel going for days without even getting a bite, which doesn't make sense to me. Also throwing knikes too. And of course the question arose, what's knikes? Wow. Well, guys, where are we at? We got 6 minutes. Captain Ahab harpoon. Yeah, this was hand thrown. It wasn't like they were shooting it from a gun, a harpoon gun. This guy was spear fishing from the prow of the boat, and he's probably the prow is really long, and it goes up, so he's probably 10 foot off the water, 8 foot off the water. What is a sloth shark? Never. I want to say I never heard of it, but it does sound familiar. Oh, wait a minute. Let me read this again. Killed by Bigfoot. What's up? I can't fish. As a psychic, it's torture to feel the fish's fear and pain, and I'm terrible at it. Wow. Yeah, so definitely don't use worms. Wow. That's odd. So do you feel the fish's like aha moment when he's about to see that worm and he's like, dinner served. And then it's like, shit. I like to hear more about that. That's interesting. It's like an empath for fish. I'm not making fun of you, hon. I think it's cool as hell. Poor worm. See? Judy, good night. Thank you. Yeah, any of y'all sharking? I did 3 of them. I don't know what the hell that means. Last shark I caught was a bull shark. It was only about 2 foot long in Florida. Anyway, hey, NAC, what's up, buddy? So you're all set for the night there, Joe. Said he smoked 2 J's watching this and just took a gummy. Or is about to take a gummy. Oh, come on, Papa. I think fishing is the cruelest, most gruesome way to kill something, unless you count what they do to those poor cabbages. I just don't know how to take that. Oh, shit. Oh, wait. I hope we survive Friday the 13th and the blood moon on Sunday. Yeah, Friday the 13th doesn't bother me. Bother? Bother. What is that? Trickstodexophobia? Fear of number 13? Trickstodecaphobia. That's it. Blood moon, on the other hand, what's that good for? Is that good for going out and doing cleansings or... Why is it the blood moon? Didn't we just have a moon that was the black moon? They called it, I think, a black moon because it should have been a blue moon, but there was an eclipse, so they changed it to a black moon. I think that's that one too. Mark says I'm late again, but at the same time fishing. Woohoo! All right, guys. That's a good question. Why are there so many moons now? When I was a kid, there was an eclipse every now and then, and that's it. But it's true. Yeah, it seems like there's always there's eclipse like more often than you would think. Anyway, all right, guys. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Everybody that joined me, Kevin. It was good to see you. And we'll see you up. I'm sure I'll see you way before then. Up on the before we get up on the mountain. Yeah, and if anybody's really considering coming out in July, let me know. You can get in touch with me at monstermogion@gmail.com. And we can go over. I mean, it's just a camping trip. It's it might be a couple days, could be a week. Nothing longer than that. That's for sure. It's like whenever we decide to call it quits. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I hope to see a lot of people there. We'll see. Papa says, thanks, Mogs. We plan to see you in July. See, that's awesome. All right, guys. If you enjoyed the show, please hit that like button below. Also, comment. I love reading comments. Love responding to them. Don't respond to all of them. I mean, I do heart and like and all that, but don't necessarily comment. I try, though. If you guys want to donate to the channel, you can find a PayPal link in the description below, or on top of my page in the banner at top on the lower right hand corner. If you want, I'll send you. If you do donate, I will send you a bandana. Woohoo! Hey, I'm just trying to give back a little bit more. Yeah, just leave your address and name and stuff at in PayPal. All right, guys, I'm babbling. I gotta get out of here. You guys have a good night. I will see you. Geez, it's Thursday already. Tuesday. I'll see. I'll see you before then. I'm always popping up somewhere. All right, guys. See you soon. Peace and God bless.